Let's do this. It must have been from a share last night. Okay. Today we're going to start on Daf Mem 40. Time flies, huh?
I didn't know what to do when I turned on all Daf, and I was on the right page.
Yeah.
Are we in the page?
Okay. We're holding right at the Mishnah. Funny. Okay. Don't worry about it, it's fine. Let me just put this tea bag and color thing. Don't worry. Okay. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. In the schus of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. And we're learning in the schus of the Lili Nishmas, the Hava Golda Bas Baruch Binyamin. And remember Zev's name? I forgot the first one. It's something Zev. Nathanael Zev, very good. Bas Ben Sinan. Okay. And whoever needs a refuah shlema, should have a refuah shlema. Okay, the Mishnah starts like this. Mafkid peres etzel chaverei. If someone deposits fruits with his friend, and he wants his friend to watch them, when his friend gives them back, so we're talking about a case over here where his friend had taken the fruits and mixed them inside his own fruit basket, his own fruit containers. So now when he's going to give them back, he's going to take scoopfuls and fill up the person's container to fill it back. Problem is there is a rate at which there's disintegration and spoilage and all of that. So when he's giving it back, if he's going to give it perfectly back, then he's going to be giving back more than what he actually got, because some of it has spoiled. Some of his own has spoiled. Some of this person spoiled. It should probably at the same proportion. So he has to remove a little bit of the spoilage or what the animals, the mice had eaten. He has to remove that. If it's wheat, or iris is usually translated as rice because the word iris sounds like rice. But Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says that it's millet. And I think Taishu says that. I don't remember the Gemara brachas. I remember those machlekes and brachas, Rashi and Taishu, if iris is rice or millet. That's why we have the machlekes, what bracha to say on. Everyone agrees that iris is mezainis. Question is iris rice or is iris millet? That's the discussion over there. Good. Yeah, because of the machlekes, what it is. Okay, so for wheat and rice. One second. Or maybe not. Just 1 second. It says Tisha Kabin Likur. 9 half kabin for kur. I don't know why it says it in that. That's like a little bit of a different way of saying it. 9 half kabin would mean 4.5 kabin, but it says 9 half kabin out of a kur. Does it say what that ratio is in percentages? Okay, because a kur is 30 sa, and each sa is 6 kav. So it's a little under a 30th or some. I'm not sure exactly, but I have to work it out.
No, that it's expressed like that to make the difference between the 9 kav.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
1 core equals 180 kavs.
1 core is 180 kav. So what does it work out to? 9 half kabin. So what would 4.5 kabin be out of 180? That doesn't say. All right.
The promotion of 9.5 after 4.5 kavs. So a core is 1.4, 22.5.
What does that mean? One core, okay. Hence the portion of 9.5 kavs to a core is 1 to 40. 2.5%. 2.5%.
That's what that also here.
2.5%. Okay. Well, that's how much he could subtract when he returns it. If it's for barley and for doichen is either millet or rice, depending on the same machlekes that we had by Iris. So then it's 9 kavan, tisha kavan liquor. Then there's more spoilage, so they eat more of that. Maybe the mice eat more, or it spoils faster. Lakusmin or zarapishtan. Kusmin is spelt, and zarapishtan is flaxseed. That would be shalishan liquor. Does that mean they were eating flaxseed back then? I didn't know that. I thought it was a modern thing that we eat flaxseed. I thought flaxseed was just meant to plant. You know. I know, but I think that's a modern mishigas, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe they, back then they would eat anything that had any nutritional value. They would, they would, if you could make it edible, they would. I guess the same today. So this is shalish sign liquor. Wow, this is a lot of spoilage. Shalish sign. There's only this is 10%. What's 10%? Akolafi amida, akolafi asman. And now he adds in akolafi amida, akolafi asman, that this is the way it would work, no matter how much size there is, how big it is, and also this would work every year. It would be the same amount of spoilage. The professor's using a calculator.
Was flaxseed a common food in Talmudic times?
Oh, okay, go ahead. It's looking up if flaxseed is a food.
Was flaxseed common food in Talmudic times?
Uh-huh.
Town Motec times.
In ancient times.
Ancient times. First known use of flaxseed seed starts in the Mediterranean and is found all the way to India. And the flax plant got cultivated for oils and fiber.
Oh.
The ancient Egyptians used it to make cloth. We know that.
So they would use it for oil. They would use it for oil.
Oil.
Okay.
Preserve food, right?
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. Corrected. It was used for oil. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, what do you think the mice care? How much the mice can't eat? If you have 2 core, you're not going to eat double the amount. They're just going to eat whatever they can eat. So you have a big thing. They're going to eat whatever they can eat. They're not going to eat more. So he says, no, even if you have 30 core or something, a huge amount, they're only going to eat off 1 core. They're going to eat that amount. They're going to eat off whatever, 9 kav or whatever, 9.5 kav or 3 sa, whatever it is. They're not going to eat more because you have more.
There. They might go and invite their friends over.
Right. So we're saying per year. That's at least that's what Rashi puts it. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda says, it was a lot. You don't actually remove anything. Why? I think Nishish means because it expands. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with a lot or a little if it expands, but what he's saying is that when it's given over in the summer, it's given over dry. When you take it back in the winter, in the rainy season, the grain would expand, and however much it expands, that would fill in for the missing spoilage. So even if you give back a full container like you received it, you're still giving back less. And that satisfies the that amount of spoilage. The Gemara says, "Oirez tuva chaser."
I think that it's like that only happens to bigger, but like the halacha only applies for like more than 10 core. Like in less than 10 core, they would remove. I was thinking the same thing. It doesn't make sense. Only big quantities expand, smaller ones don't.
Okay. So Hill is explaining that if it's a large amount, then we could say, is he accepting Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri as well? Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Tanakama, who holds that the amount eaten by mice is fixed ratio of the total amount present. Rabbi Yehuda also disagrees with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who is of the opinion that mice eat from only one core, even if a large amount is present. Okay, so now I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure. Gemara says, "Eirez tuva chaser." Eirez would decrease much more than that, than 9/2 kavin. We're talking about that it was peeled. Now, I guess if it's peeled, then it doesn't eat. The mice don't eat as much. Mice eat the peels more. Am I saying it correctly, or do they adjust that in any way?
He says pure, which is not decreased as
Okay.
not as great as rate as not
Okay. So that's the explanation. Lakusman Zarapishta and Gimelsam Lakur. When it came to the spelt and to the flaxseed, 3 sa for a core, which is 10%, etc. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Yochanan says the name of Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia is the author of the Brises. Zarapishtan b'gavaylim shanu. This is talking about when it's in the stock. That means that there's a lot of spoilage. That means that it really decreased. I guess the mice like to eat the stalks too. Tanya Namihachi was also taught in the Brisa that spelt and flaxseed in the stalk. And also for rice that's not peeled, like we mentioned before, that rice that was peeled spoils less. Rice that's not peeled spoils more. Over there, it's going to be shleisha sa in the core. It's going to be 3 sa per core, which is 10%.
You peel rice. Is he talking about the thing on the stalk, like the whole plant, so that the stalk shrinks, or is he just talking about hulling it?
I think hulling was unhulled.
Here he uses the word hulled for some things, hulled rice, and later he says unpeeled rice.
I think that means it's unhulled.
The same thing with flaxseed.
Right.
This means they take off a little coating of it on the outside, not the
I
whole
think
stalk.
by the flaxseed, it says that it's still in the stalk. That has a different expression.
That's why they use
Us. Okay.
it says that the husks dry out, they fall off, and then the one goes away.
Right.
It has a bigger rate.
Oh.
Those bulky things, they shrink.
He's saying that the husk blows away in the wind. That's why it would have a larger rate of and not spoilage, but it would decrease faster because of the husk would get lost. Okay, Hakalafi Amida. All of this is according to how much you have. Tana, it was said in the Brisa, Kain l'chol kor v'kor v'chein l'chol shana v'shana. this is the ratio that we would use for each core, and this is the ratio also that we would use for each year. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said to them, you think the mice know how much you have, to know how much to eat? Just like the mice come in packs. If you have the 2 core there, then you have 2 mice. If you have 3 core, then you have 3 mice. It says, Tanya Amalei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, they responded, Harbi Yovdis man, but a lot is lost. Harbi Mispardis man, a lot is gets spread out. They're not really answering him directly. Tana was taught in the Brisa by Medvar Mum Shivran and Peresiv. All of this that we're saying, that you have to, when you return it, you make this ratio of how much is spoiled, and then you return it less than what you were given. That's only if you mixed it with your own produce. However, but if you told the guy, keep your stuff in the corner over there, in its own container, then when it comes time to returning it, they said, look, that's your things. I never mixed in with my things. Take what's yours and go. This whole Mishnah doesn't apply to that case. What do you mean if he mixed it with his produce? We can figure this out. We don't have to come to the Mishnah to tell me what the ratio of spoilage is. Let's see how much he had before. Let's see how much the person gave him. And then we'll figure out how much belongs to him. Right? If they each had half a barrel, so then you just divide the barrel in half. There's been mistopic man. We're talking about that he was using it while the other guy's the stuff was in there. This is mistopic. Let's see how much he used, and then we'll still be able to figure it out. Says we're talking about where he doesn't know how much he used. So in other words, the guy, the shomer, doesn't have a separate container for this person's thing. So he only has one container.
That's his fault then. Don't want it to him more if he did that.
Well, the guy said, yeah, here, watch my produce. I'm going away. So he puts it in his container. So you put it in his container. It'd be like today. You don't have a separate fridge. Someone says, can you hold to this? You put it in your fridge. So there they had a barrel. You put it in his barrel. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer im haisa chulu. Rabbi Yehuda says that if it was a lot, then it increases because of the time when you're giving it back. It expands. Kama mida bruva. How much would be a lot that we would say this? Amarabba barbachana Amar Rabbi Yochanan asara kurin. It's talking about if you have 10 kurin. And why did we say that 10 kurin made a difference? Why would it expand? Why would we use this expansion by 10 kurin? If we were following Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, then I understand. It's just a small amount, because even in 10 core, it only Taisus asked that question.
No insurance, no,
It was like more than 10, they wouldn't deduct. Because
Well,
it was presumed that it expanded. So
I know. My question is the spoilage according to how much, is it proportionate to how much he has? Or is it the spoilage the same amount, whether you have a little or you have a lot? If it's the ratio, if it's proportionate, then why should it make a difference how much he has? It's the same ratio, whether he has a little or he has a lot. And if it's a small amount, if it's if it's the one core gets lost, percentage of one core gets lost, but all the cores stay intact. That was the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, because how much can the mice eat? So then I would understand what Rabbi is saying, that once you have 10 core, you're going to have just a small amount of spoilage, because only one core of those 10 core is going to have a little bit of a loss. Then I could say that by 10 core, the expansion is going to fill in that percentage of the one core.
you said, but the mice only eating like a little bit.
My only problem with this, Rabbi Yehuda also disagrees with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who is of the opinion that mice eat from only one core, even if a large amount is present. I'm not getting that.
Maybe the mice were educated back then. They would eat
Or
for
the
more at a
brain
time.
effect. And the rate of decrease could be different. It says here in this footnote that the bigger the thing, the more mice attract it. So the greater the decrease of a large amount. A small amount, yeah, a couple of rats get hold of, hey, there's something here. But it's big they put out in.
That's the opinion of the sages that argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. My only question is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, why does it make a difference if there's 10 core, how much it expands? Whatever the ratio is, it should be the same ratio.
Why? Every size has a certain. When it's bigger, there's more decrease with bigger things than with the small things.
Yeah, but we're talking about that the grain expands in the winter. So whatever the decrease is, because of the expansion of the grain, you should give back the same amount that the person gave you, because that's going to fill in that's going to cover the decrease.
Right, but he's saying that the rate of decrease is not the same whether it's this or this. This could have a higher rate of decrease than this.
Oh, so you're actually saying the opposite, that it has a higher rate of decrease.
In the big one.
Uh-huh. No, Rashi's not learning like that. Rashi's learning that they're eating less when there's a lot. Not less in total, not less in total, but less, the ratio gets less, like, which is similar to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, but maybe not exactly. Okay. Tanya Namihachi kama midim ruba sarkun tenkor. Okay. Tani Tana kamed Rab Nachman. A Tana taught in front of Rab Nachman. A Tana means someone that memorized prices. So he teaches in front of Rab Nachman. All of this is only if he measured it from his granary and returned it from the granary, from the threshing floor. But if he measures it out from the granary and returns it from his house, in other words, he's given it to watch at one season and he gives it back at another season, he's not going to take out any of the loss because it's going to increase. Now, Gemara didn't understand it, that it's a different season. At the beginning, the Gemara understands that there's different measuring cups that they use in the granary than there is in the. He says, oh, if you give me returning from the house, then it's a lesser, the measuring cup that you're giving, that the house gallons are smaller than the workplace gallons. So when you give it back, you're going to be giving back less anyway. So you always just give back a gallon. Gemara says, Amalei, you think we're dealing with shuftin, are fools? Diyavi b'kaila rabba v'shayli b'kaila zuta, that they give with a large bucket and they take back with a small bucket, small measurement. Dilma b'maisa geirin kam. We're talking about the season, and it goes like this. When do we say that you do this? That's only if we subtract based on spoilage. That's only if you give it to him in the summer, which is the time of the threshing, when they harvest the grain, and you return it in the summer. But if he returns it in the winter, then it expands in the winter. I'm not sure if it's expanding because it's getting wet or if it's expanding because of the cold. Rainy season. Is it maybe it's the moisture in the air that makes it expand. I assume it's not good for the grain to get wet, but maybe the moisture in the air makes it expand a little bit. Okay. Amalei Rav Papa la Abaya. Rav Papa says to Abayim Cain Lifka Kada. Says 1 second. If it expands, then why don't we see the barrels bursting? Aviyavdu Pakakada. The Gemara says, well, that happens. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It happens. There are cases where the containers burst. Some say that it doesn't expand when you hold it inside in a tight container. It won't expand. It holds it from expanding. It holds it from absorbing, probably because it's held so tight.
Would they sell like
I think it was volume. At least that's the way we understand it.
There's a weight, like white green, it would change a lot.
What is it? Oh, if it's wet, yeah, sure, it would change. Okay. Now the Gemara discusses the wine. If someone deposits wine, this is a new Mishnah. Someone deposits wine for you to watch, and you take the wine and you pour it into your containers. It's a little bit of a problem because the containers back then would absorb. It wasn't like glass; it doesn't absorb. The containers were either wood or clay or whatever, and they would have absorption. So when you return it, if you return more than you got, if you return the same amount that you got, you're actually giving some of your own back. You're actually giving back more because there was some absorption into the barrel that gets lost, and the person that's depositing has to take that into account. So 1/6 for the wine. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's even more than that. It's a fifth. Yaitzi lai. I'm sorry. In the Mechimesh. Yaitzi lai shleisha lug in the meya. What he does is he takes out 3 lug of oil. 1 second. Is it Chaimesh Yaitzilai or Chaimesh? And then Yaitzilai Shleish L'Glamaya. And I want to know from the Hebrew. You see in your Hebrew thing. Chaimesh. No, I did it right. Chaimesh. Okay. Then it goes Yaitzilai Shleish L'Glam Shemen L'Maya. Okay. That's the next piece. You take out 3 lug of oil. Now we switched over to oil. 3 lug of oil per 100 lug. This is also gonna do with the absorption. Well, we'll see. It's divided in half. Lug Metzia Shmarim. A lug and a half is going to be sediment, which when you take it out, you're not going to catch that. And lug Metzia Bala, and a lug and a half is going to be absorbed. So together, it's going to be 3 lug, right? A lug and a half plus a lug and a half is going to be 3. So you take out 3 lug. When you're returning it, instead of 100 lug, you're returning you're returning 97.
The first 3 is
I'm sorry.
the first.
He gave you 100 lug. You return 97, and you say this is
Because this is the breakdown of the 3.
Yeah, that's the explanation. But if he gave you oil that was pure already, it was already refined. So then then you can't subtract the sediment because it didn't have any sediment. So then you'll only take out the absorption. Yeshanim. If it was old barrels,
That already had absorbed.
then it already fully absorbed. Saying it's labella, then you don't take what absorption because it's already fully absorbed. Pre-absorbed barrels, right? They sell you. They sell you.
It's a used barrel.
They sell you things, pots and pans that were already like smeared with stuff. You know, pre something. I forget what it's called, but it's a kashrus problem. Yeah. Besides for non-stick, they have these pre something. It's like some sort of treatment they do to it where they already get it.
Otherwise, you just to treat it yourself. But
Right. Yeah, but it's a kashrus problem because sometimes they use like fats from things to.
In this case, the used barrels are more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably today also with like those whiskeys, they say it already has sherry or something. Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer,
Rabbi Smith, Ellie, the Mishnah doesn't say what kind. This Nifkat is a shomer. And it doesn't say, of this particular product, it doesn't bother to say what kind of a shomer he is.
Right,
Is that because it doesn't make a difference?
right. We're not talking about responsibility or negligence and that type of thing. That would make a difference what type of shamer.
Uh,
Here we're just talking about the item itself, how it gets returned.
So it must be that regardless of what kind of shomer he is, there's this natural process, which
Right.
makes it not easy to return the correct amount,
Right,
right?
right. This is really like the lead up towards the ribis sugya, which is coming up.
Uh-huh.
This is introducing that because this starts to get. I know it's first it's going to introduce I know, which is actually coming up on this page. You know,
Uh-huh.
pricing things. How much can you charge? Especially when you start subtracting.
Well, this is really a narrative, and we're at the beginning of the narrative here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So you didn't subtract all the stuff that is absorbed, for example, then you end up returning more than what he got.
You're gonna end up
You'd be
returning more,
losing- you'd be
right?
Losing business. Wouldn't be a good business.
Right. So Rabbi Yudaim from Hashem and Mezukah Klechaverai. Look at this. Rabbi Yehuda says if someone's selling oil to his friend during the year, now his friend didn't ask for refined oil. His friend just asked for oil, but you're giving refined oil, which means that you're giving a higher quality. It's not just the quality; it's actually the quantity, because what your friend would have to do if you would give him regular oil was he would have to extract the sediment. But you're giving it to him already pre-extracted. You already took out that sediment. So you can take out a lug of mechza for every 100, a lug and a half, the sediment, because basically he bought 100 lug and you're giving him 98 and a half, and that's perfectly fine. According to Rabbi Yehuda.
Even though there's no refund.
Because you refined it. You refined it already. And you tell the guy, you say, well, hey, 1 second, it's not filled to the top. He says, yeah, because I took out the sediment already. So, well, you want me to throw it back in? I can throw it back in and fill it up for you, but you don't want that. So just take it as it is. Because it's allowed to have a lug and a half of sediment. That's what's expected. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in the grocery stores with the water they spray and it makes it way more, and the leaves that are still attached, and the people that they shake off the water first, and they cut off the beet tops, and the little things to cut it down. Okay.
I was thinking of the meat, there's certain parts of meat that has a lot of bone.
Right.
So we take to account half of it, it's bones and the other half.
Right. And then people like the bones, for stews and stuff. Okay, so here we had a little machlekes if it's a sixth or a fifth regarding the what seeps into the barrel or sediment of the wine. No, what seeps into the barrel. The Gemara says that it's actually not a machlekes. Mark Yesrei and Mark Yesrei. It depends on the location. Basri Demar Chafu Bekira, Mayitz. In the first opinion of the Tanakama, they coat the barrels with wax so it doesn't absorb. Basri Demar, in the place of Rabbi Yehuda, Chafu Bekufra, Mayitz. They put tar or pitch or something, and it absorbs a lot. If you want, you could say Mishum Gargishta. It's actually talking about the actual clay that they use to make the barrel. There's different types of clay. When they make the barrel, there's different colors. Different, yeah. You'd have to go to like an arts school to learn about the different clays. It would just if you're making pottery, you have to play around with that. but what's going to absorb more, what's not. They use a shellac, some type of coating on it. Basid Rabbi Yehuda Rama Abarim. Here's a new Gemara. Basid Rabbi Yehuda. In the place of Rabbi Yehuda, Ramu Abarim v'tamne kuza bedana. They would put 48 kuz are small flasks into one big barrel. So, in other words, a big barrel could hold 48 flasks. And azal dana b'shita zuzi, and each barrel cost 6 zuz. Wanted a barrel of wine, that would be 6 zuz. How much did that barrel contain? 48 containers. Okay, like a case, big case. Paras Rabbi Yehuda shita b'zuzah. What Rabbi Yehuda did was he would sell 6 kuz for a zuz. So let's see if you can work out the math over here. There's 48 flasks, and for all 48 flasks together cost 6 zuz. Right? Listen, if you would divide that up, how much is each one? That would be 8 flasks per zuz, right? 8 flasks, 6 times 8, right? It'd be 48. What he did was, instead of selling 8, he was making a profit. So he sold 6 for zuz, which he would already make his money back at 36. That's what he bought it for, and then he would still have 12 left over, right? Which is good. So, what's he getting? Is that a quarter profit? Getting a quarter profit. So that's good. That's a lot. So dal plus and b'shita. Subtract 36 for the 6 zuz. Partially tracer is left with 12. Dal tamnaya shtusi. Now you have to subtract 8 of the of these flasks because that gets absorbed into the barrel. Remember we said that 1/6 gets absorbed. So the truth is his profit is only 4. Partial arba. Because when you subtract 36, 12 would be the 8 plus 4. Subtract 8, you're only left with 4. And he's not really making much. Right? He's not making a zuz. 1 zuz would have been a 6. He's not making a zuz. He's making less than a zuz. Making half a zuz. Making a 12th, it looks like, right? I don't know if it spells that out. Does it spell that out in our spell? It's only making a 12. Okay. Yeah, why did he limit his profits? That's the question over here. Now, you don't have to make, it's a funny Gemara, because you don't have to make a 6. You're allowed to make you're not allowed to make more than a 6. Doesn't mean, they make 1 cent per item. You don't have to make more than that. You don't have to make a 6. That's a funny Gemara. Anyway, okay, it's asking this question. You're not supposed to make more than a 6. So why didn't he make at least what he's allowed to? Yeah. So the Gemara answers it could gulfi b'shamraya. He actually is making because he keeps the container. When you buy the barrel, you actually buy for 6. You actually get it comes along with the barrel. When you paid the 6 zuz for those 48, it actually comes with the barrel. So he gains the barrel, and also we didn't take into account the shmarim, the sediment. Sediment also is what he keeps. What does he do with the sediment? Is there another version that you have? I have on the side, it says Vishadraya, but I'm not sure what that means. Do you have a second version to the sediment?
The payment for tapping.
No, you don't say anything. That's coming up in a second.
Oh, sorry.
That's coming up in a second. So the Gemara answers, do you have that on the side? Vishadraya? Okay, if that's the case, then maybe he's making more than a sixth. Because what is he getting? He's getting back the value of this. He already made a 12th. He's getting back plus the barrel and the sediment. So the Gemara answers, no, it doesn't work like that. Because first of all, he has the bother, the effort that goes into this. Plus, there's the tapping of the barrel. You have to pay a guy to come and put a tap on the barrel and then to put a seal over that tap. So that also costs money.
What's a tap?
What happens is when they would open the barrel, they would have to put a hole in it and put in this little spout, and then they would put a seal on the spout. They have to do that every time, and that costs money. Yeah. Someone told me with the smelting, they actually shoot a hole into the with a gun, shoot a hole into the thing to let the ore out. Wherever they want, how much. If they want to let out the sediment, they shoot it on the bottom. If they want to let out the ore, they shoot it towards a little higher.
What are they?
Slag. It's
Slag.
like, because they separate metals. Anyway, that's what's smelting.
Liquid oil.
Yeah.
Liquid steel or iron.
Yeah. Here it's just a wine. They just put a hole somewhere on the side and. Okay. Now it says,
Rain barrels.
if it was.
When we use rain barrels, you have to put a tap. There's a hole, and they said you have to buy this faucet. You have to stick it in. You have to seal it,
Right.
otherwise it leaks out. And then you could attach it to your tubing to do drip irrigation.
Uh-huh.
So it's the same idea.
Do you
It's
have do you have a rain barrel?
2 of them.
Oh yeah. Good idea. So if it's the oil's refined and you don't have to take out the shmarim because it's already when he gives it to you to hold, because he already took it out. So when you give him back, you give it back like at that same rate, at that same measurement. But you have to delay bala. What about what it absorbed? Talking about that it was sealed. Now it's interesting. Before we said when it was sealed, said that it does absorb. It's but talking about over here, it's sealed plus older. It was plastic, like not plastic. It was what do we call it? It was covered with pitch. Even if it wasn't covered in pitch, but given the ton, once it's already absorbed, it doesn't absorb anymore. Okay. Now we're up to the person that's selling, and he's not selling. The guy's buying 100. What was the measurement? 100 lug. 100 lug, and he's only giving him 97 or something, because or 98 and a half, because he's selling him it's already refined. Gemara says like this. Abaya says, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're actually allowed to add the sediment back in. This is Abaya's opinion. According to the Chacham, you're not allowed to add the sediment in once it's refined. And now we're going to explain where he gets this from. What is it? Where did he get it from? That according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're allowed to add it back in. It says, Vina time the Makabal. The Makabal. What's the reason why when he's selling it now, he's only giving him 98.5 instead of 100? And the person has to accept that. He says, Darmalei, Iboila Ruvilach, Milay Arvilach, Hashtana Mikabal. He says, look, if I wanted to, I could have added the sediment back in. I'm not doing that, so you have to accept it. Why doesn't he sell to him? If you would add it back in, then when I would resell it, I would be able to sell it with the sediment. What do you want me to do with it now? You're going to give me the sediment on the side? What do I do with sediment on the side? So I'm not gaining anything. I can't sell it just plain sediment. So the Gemara answers, So no, that question would be that why does he have to accept it? It says we're talking about that the person is not he's not reselling it. He's just a homeowner that would rather have the refined oil to use. So the person's telling him, if I wanted, I could mix it back in, which you don't want. So now just accept it like this. Why doesn't he say to him, the fact that you didn't mix it back in, that's because you're Michael, you're obviously agreeing to give me a little bit extra because you took it out and you didn't mix it back in. It says this is Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei less than mechila. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the person does not forgo on this unless he said so specifically. Talking about that he was paid for the oil and now he's getting it. He says, well, he told him the amount and now he's giving him less. I said, well, maybe because he told him the amount, he should really be giving him 100 because that's what they made up. And it's already refined. He says, well, the guy was Michael that. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, the guy's not Michael. The seller wasn't Michael. The Tanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, if someone buys the yoke of the animal, not the yoke of the egg, the yoke of the animal without an L, right? He puts it so he didn't sell the cattle together with it. Machales abakav, he sold the cattle, and machales atzemin, he didn't sell the yoke along with it. He didn't sell the equipment that goes along. Rabbi Daimer adam and Maidiyim. Rabbi Yehuda says it depends. You have to look at what he paid. Kate said, Amalai machalitz matchav masayim zuz. He says, sell me your yoke for 200 zuz. Rabbi Yehuda said, 200 zuz sound like a year's salary. It says obviously the yoke itself doesn't cost; it's just a piece of wood with some strings, and so obviously that doesn't cost 200. So obviously that means together with the animals. The Chachamim say the Chachamim say that there's no proof from the price that he paid. What's going on over here in this machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim? Apparently, the Chachamim hold that the fact that he paid extra, or the fact that he gave him the fact that he paid extra, it could be that he was Michael the extra money. The fact that he say, well, no one would ever pay such a price. He says, well, maybe he would, and he doesn't care. He's giving him extra. So okay, keep the change, sort of. According to Rabbi Yehuda, no one would ever do that. When it comes to business, no one would ever do that. And so therefore, we don't say that there's ever any mechila in business unless the person specified. So if that's the case, so we can't say that the person was actually giving him the extra lug and a half of oil because he already refined it and now he's being meichel. No, there's no mechila. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. There's no forgiving.
We had a machlokes about the jars. In one place they use bigger jars and the other one gets smaller jars. So the person by paying, since he was paying this amount, he should have known that it was a smaller amount.
That clock is wrong. That's just scared me. Oh my gosh. The clock says 6:51. Well, I did not realize. Okay, yeah. So tell me again, what was that?
What discussion about the jars? Like in one place, I guess they use bigger jars than others. So then the person was supposed to figure it out.
Yeah.
That he was paying much less.
Yeah, we had stuff like that. That was in Baba Kama. We had if it's the same name for a barrel or a jug. Yeah. Okay, now he says L'divrei Chachamim asal arav shmarim. According to the sages, this is a biased opinion. You're not allowed to mix in the sediment after it's been refined and then sell it like that. So to gain, it's like putting the dirt back in to the vegetables after it's been cleaned. So you can sell. So the weight goes up. You're not allowed to do that. This is according to the Chum. You can't add the sediment back in. Mind the time of the makabel, and this is the reason why when he's selling 100 lug, the guy has to give him 100 lug. He can't give him 98 and a half. Because he said to him, if you would try to add the sediment back in, you wouldn't be allowed to add the sediment back in. So, so I'm not accepting. You see, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the guy can say, if you want me to throw it back in, I'll throw it back in. So therefore accept it as is. But according to the Chum, you can't do that, and that's why he has to give him 100 look. Amalei Rapapa Labaya. Rapapa says to Abaya Adrabba. It's on exactly the opposite from your logic. Rapapa is a student. Adrab Ivchem Estabra. It's perfectly the opposite. According to the sages, he's allowed to add in the sediment behind the time of Makabal, and this is the reason why he's not accepting. The buyer is not accepting to get just 98 and a half. Because he says to him, obviously, the fact that you didn't add it in, that's because you were Michael. And the Chachamim hold that he could be Michael, right? That it's possible for Mechila. Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's the opposite. You're not allowed to add it back in by the time of the Makabal, and that's why he's accepting to get 98.5. The Amalei, because he says to him, if I wanted to add it back in, you wouldn't let me add it back in. You wouldn't accept. Zavun v'zabein tikrikri. If I buy and I sell for the same price, am I going to make a profit? So therefore, the only way that I can make a profit here is if you allow me to subtract from the amount and give you only 98 and a half. Let's try to finish to the Mishnah. Tana was taught in the Brayse. It doesn't matter if he's buying or if he's getting it as a deposit, something to watch. The same thing applies to the pekatim, which is like some sort of it's not a sediment because sediment goes to the bottom. This is something that floats on the top, bits and pieces. What do they call it in the English? A scum. A scum or it's the olive pits that float on the top. Yeah, I don't like the word scum.
Scum is a bad word. It's good things though.
This is the pits that float on the top. So the same thing applies. My lepkatim, what are you talking about? Do we say do we say that if someone buys oil and the guy tries to give him oil together with his pits that are floating on the top, so he doesn't accept it? He says, I want it clean. So then also when you're returning from a deposit, you also can't give back with the pits on the top. You could say to him, what do you want me to do with your with the pits? When you gave it to me, it had pits. What do you want me to do with it? Just like when he's returning it, he gives the pits. Like also, we're saying that the same halacha applies. So which way does it go? So it says also when someone purchases, he also has to accept that it's going to come with some pits on the top. Does the purchaser actually accept those pits that are floating on the top? But they did not say shemenakar, that the loss that comes from unrefined oil. Who gets that loss? It's the seller that gets the loss. Because the purchaser has to accept on himself a lug and a half of sediment, but not the pits on the top. That's not what he's accepting. So, which means that the purchaser does not accept the pits on the top. You're telling me that he does. The Gemara says, like Kasha. It's not a question. It depends. If he's giving him the money in Tishrei, Tishrei is when the oil is still fresh and it hasn't been refined yet. So then he's accepting on himself. It's first of all, it's cheaper. Paying the cheaper price, and he's taking it in Nissan. after it's been refined. No, but he's accepting the way it is in Tishrei. He's accepting the earlier rate. The other one is when he's buying it later and he's taking it at the later rate. Over there, he wants it to be refined. Okay, that depends on when he's buying it. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Wow.
Before we cut off,
Yeah.
Hillel, your event is tonight, right?
Yes. we got-
Yeah.
Now, is that a gated community?
Yes.
And what name do we give to get in?
Hebrew.
Haber.
Oh, Haber, I saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is,
S or R or something. There, I guess him and his wife. I guess.
Okay. We'll look
Okay.
that up. Thank you.
Okay. 7 o'clock, right? Mazel tov.